here with you today on a very beautiful morning. I just left. My wife and kids are all still asleep. You'll be happy to know. Sleeping in the bed, but so honored to get to be here with you. Thank you to our council, to our mayor, to our great candidates for office. And this is going to be a very special year. On November the 7th, I think we are going to send a signal to the country and really to the world about who we are. And as we have seen over the course of the last several days, we've all been touched by the events in Charlottesville, not too far from here, and we send our condolences and our thoughts and our prayers to all the families who were affected. I just yesterday was in Richmond, actually went to the funeral of one of the troopers who unfortunately was lost in a helicopter crash, Trooper Pilot Burke Bates and his family. There were hundreds of people who came out and gathered together to honor his memory and his service. But I think that those events and the events of the course of the last several months have really started to frame what this election is all about. We are now, I believe, in a fight for the heart and the soul of our country. And you all in this incredible outpouring of support, progressive activism, people who are running for office, who have stepped up to fight for the heart and soul of this country, really inspires me. I am incredibly touched by, in my travels around the Commonwealth, seeing so many people who have dedicated themselves day in and day out to fighting for our values, to making sure that there is more opportunity, more inclusion, that we are battling the dark forces of hatred and of xenophobia and misogyny and all the things that we have seen out of this White House, out of this administration. And I want to bring a little bit of good news to you today. We are winning this fight. And we're going to win this fight on November the 7th. We're going to send a signal to the country and really to the world about who we are. The fact that Virginia's values are America's values. And we saw that in our primary. We were fortunate to have had a significant turnout on the Democratic side. And this is what you did. The Republicans had about 360,000 people come out and vote on June the 13th. We had 540,000 people come out and vote. And that's what you did. We got nearly 200,000 voters. And so I want to tell you, again, the good news, we are winning this fight, and we are going to win this fight because we are on the right side of history. We as Democrats believe that we have a society that should bring people together, that should make sure that everyone gets a chance to rise, no matter where you come from, what your last name is, the color of your skin, your gender, who you love, how much money your family has. You should get a shot at the American dream. It is what has propelled this country from the very beginning. We have made a more perfect union with each generation, and we right now are at the crossroads of history, yet again. And I have to tell you that as dark as the times have been politically, Virginia has been and will continue to be a bright light in that darkness. Because as difficult as November the 8th was last year, and we all know how tough a time that was. I myself stayed under the covers for about 2 weeks afterwards, and know we all had to deal with that in our own way. I said, I didn't know there were 8 stages of grief. There were the 7 I knew about. The 8th is called resistance, and we're now coming into our resistance phase. And we have done this together. But I do remind myself that as dark nationally as that election was, we still won Virginia. And we have to remind people that we know how to win elections here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We know how to fight for our values. And those values resonate with everyone here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So what we're fighting for on November the 7th, in addition to beating back some of the worst abuses that we have seen from this administration, is a new vision of what our Commonwealth can be. We're fighting to expand Medicaid so that 400,000 more Virginians have access to health care. It is one of the moral issues of our time. I heard about the great scholarships that were awarded to our 3 future nurses, and I actually have a lot of nurses in my family. My sister is a labor and delivery nurse. My late maternal grandmother was a nurse for 40 years at Freedman's Hospital. My cousin is a nurse anesthetist, so I know a little something about nursing. My wife is a dentist, actually, and my mom is a pharmacist. So they know healthcare. And I get an earful from all of them about healthcare. But it is one of the moral issues of our time. And not only would it cover 400,000 more Virginians, it would create 30,000 additional jobs in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We have given away already $10.4 billion in federal money. not having expanded Medicaid. We are one of only 19 states not to have expanded Medicaid. So the majority of the country has now expanded Medicaid, 31 states in the District of Columbia. This is something that we must do and something that we will do. We are also going to deal with and battle back and defeat gerrymandering once and for all, at least in this next cycle, the next 10 years. It is such a significant issue. That is where so much of our progress has gone today, is in the House of Delegates, which has been tremendously gerrymandered. As we know, Virginia, all 5 of our statewide elected officials are Democrats. Both of our senators, our governor, our lieutenant governor, and our attorney general. We Democrats in Virginia have won all 3 of the last presidential elections. And we should be very proud of that. But yet in a state that's trending blue in that way, 66 of 100 members of the House delegates are Republican. That is gerrymandering at work, and that is why this is not only a 4-year election on November the 7th, this is really a 14-year election, because we're going to redraw those lines in 2021 and lock in those maps for the next decade after the census in 2020. So we have got to take the long view about how important this election really is. And again, we also are fighting at its base for our values, to make sure that more people have economic security and opportunity, that we can raise the minimum wage to make it a livable wage so that people can raise their families and move up the ladder. People can afford to go to college or community college to get the skills and certification that they need to help their families and their communities move forward. We have 175,000 middle skill jobs that are open today in the Commonwealth of Virginia. These are jobs that require more than a 4-year high school diploma, but less than a 4-year college degree. And many of our community colleges have been tremendous in giving people the training and certification to take these jobs, which pay on average between $30,000 and $50,000 per year. So these are significant opportunities for people to rise economically in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And this is something that we can do if we fight. We have a lot to celebrate as Democrats. So you will hear from the other side, you'll hear from the other candidates for statewide office and for the House of Delegates about how awful our economy is, how awful things have gone over the last 4 years. It is not the truth. And I'll give you just a few figures that we can sort of wave in front of them. When Terry McAuliffe, Ralph Northam, Mark Herring took office in 2014, unemployment was at 5.4% in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Today, it stands at 3.8%. They have lowered it, we have fought, we have won, and made progress. We have added over 200,000 more jobs here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, attracted $16 billion in capital investment here in the Commonwealth over the last 4 years. And again, have made our Commonwealth more inclusive, have made sure that more people get a chance to participate, and that everyone can rise. We beat back hatred, homophobia, and xenophobia. I was proud to have gone on the first night of that horrific, unconstitutional Muslim travel ban to Dulles Airport. It is one of the worst things that I have ever seen. You saw families who were literally being separated from one another. I saw grandparents who were in tears, being separated from the grandchildren. And many of them, it's the only country they have ever known. And yet, when they landed back in Dulles, it was a country they did not recognize. But again, I want to give you a note of inspiration, because as dark as the reason was that we were there, I was so inspired by what happened that night. There were hundreds of people there protesting, and it was so diverse in terms of who showed up. There were dozens of lawyers, like myself, who showed up to volunteer our services. I told my lawyer friends that we better be very careful because we're in danger of getting a good reputation if we keep doing good stuff like that and helping people. But that night, and Senator Cory Booker, my friend, came out, and so many others. But I'm proud to say that every single person who was unlawfully detained that night at Dulles Airport got to leave and go home and be with their families because we fought. Every single one. That would not have happened if we didn't come together and resist. And I believe this administration didn't count on a few things. They thought that if they did something to one community or to one person, that we all would sit back and say, well, that's not me, and that's not us. What we have said time and time again through our actions, through the incredible Women's March, where 5.9 million people around the world marched the day after this president was inaugurated in one of the greatest displays of political courage and activism that I've ever seen in my life. We have said time and time again that what you do to one person, you do to every single one of us. What you do to one community, you do to every single community. And we have not backed down, we have unified, we have fought, and that is why, despite the darkness, the hatred, the xenophobia, the constant battles that we have had, we continue to win. We are on the right side of history, and we are marching along to a much brighter day politically. Virginia will continue to be that bright light. I know that when we win on November 7th, when we elect Ralph Northam as our governor, re-elect Mark Herring as our great Attorney General, elect myself and members of the House of Delegates and members for local office, our candidates, that Virginia is going to be the match that sparks the wildfire of progressive change all across this country and all across this world. That is a chance that we have in 79 days. And I'm not counting, by the way. But that's the chance that we have together. And that will then send a statement for next year as we elect great people to Congress in 2018, as we re-elect Senator Tim Kaine, as we take back our majority in the Senate in 2019, and as we make this person a one-term president in 2020 if he's not impeached before then. So that is the chance that we have together. And again, I want to thank each one of you for what you have done, what you continue to do, for staying in the battle, for staying in the fight, for knocking on doors, reaching out to your neighbors, to your community members, because that is what is making the difference. You are literally changing the course of history, not only here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but in this country. We have very unique moments in the history of our nation where we have an opportunity to change course and change direction, both in policy and in vision. And this is one of those times. I think it is a battle between the very dark ideology field, again, with hatred, with bigotry, with exclusion, with scapegoating, with telling you to be fearful of your neighbor, and the bright light that we, I believe, represent of inclusion, of saying that we're going to love each other, we're going to take care of each other, we're going to make sure that everyone will get opportunity, everyone will get a chance to rise. This is a very unique moment in American history, and I believe that we are on the right side of that history. And I'll conclude just by saying this. You were so kind to have me and Susan and Jean, two great Democrats here last time. It was a tremendous gathering. I think it's even grown since then. So you all are continuing to grow. And it was wonderful to get to share with you then. And so many of you know my story, but I just want to share briefly why I'm a Democrat and why I care so deeply about these issues. And I think we share so many things in common. It really is because people have fought for me, for my family, to give us opportunity in this country, the greatest country on the face of the planet Earth,